If ever there was a benchmark in sports car racing, a measuring stick by which the world's greatest race teams and drivers could compare their ingenuity, their ability, and their desire. If ever there was an arena to showcase moxie and machinery, persistence and passion, finesse and fortitude, it is here at Le Mans. Since 1923, the roads of this town in western France have been the barometer by which excellence is measured. 50 cars on the cutting edge of technology, and drivers with the skill and courage to get behind the wheel will entertain over 200,000 spectators in this timeless test of endurance. Among those drivers bold enough to attack this 8.5-mile true road course, 2 have stood taller than the rest. Belgian Jackie X dominated the late 60s through the early 80s with 6 overall victories, displaying an uncanny synergy between man, machine, and road. His successor as the master of Le Mans is Tom Christensen, who last year became the winningest driver in Le Mans history. In 2006, the Great Dane will strive for an unprecedented 8th overall win and an even more astonishing 7th in a row. For the next 24 hours, he will help pilot the sport's most innovative race car, the V12 diesel-powered Audi R10. With this technological wonder, Audi hopes to make history by becoming the first diesel-powered overall winner at Le Mans and capture its 6th overall win in 7 years. If there is a David to Audi's Goliath, it may be the eponymous team run by French racing legend Henri Pescarolo, who have the best chance since Peugeot in the early 90s to bring the overall title back to France. Only time will tell the true story of this year's race. Today, the Le Mans tradition continues. France's biggest contribution to world motorsport begins not in Paris, but 150 miles to the southwest in the square and old Le Mans. Monday and Tuesday are devoted to scrutineering. Drivers such as World Rally champion Sebastian Loeb and 7-time Le Mans winner Tom Christensen are on hand, but the real stars are the cars themselves. The biggest buzz has been about Audi's audacious gamble, banking their 6-time winning streak on a pair of brand new R10s and their revolutionary V12 turbo diesels. But there's something for the car guy in all of us, including the bright yellow Corvette C6Rs, the defending GT1 champions, challenged by the 12-cylinder machines from Aston Martin. The crowd favorite, without question, are the Pescarolo Judd V10s in the hands of 6 experienced French drivers. Early in the week, it was all fun and games. Get the t-shirt, take the picture, but now it's time to get down to racing at Le Mans. Live from the Circuit de la Sarthe, Speed Channel is proud to welcome you to the greatest event in sports car racing. Welcome to the 74th running of the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans. Hello everyone, I'm Bob Varsha, proud to welcome you live to Le Mans. On behalf of all of us at Speed Channel, we live for events just like this. We have 20 hours of live coverage coming your way, and if you're new to Le Mans, here's what you're about to see. 50 elite sports car teams, including 9 from the US-based American Le Mans Series. They will run in 4 classes for 24 hours. 150 drivers, including 16 Americans and 38 Le Mans rookies. We have good weather conditions now, but a breeze may bring rain before the 24 hours are over. If it stays dry, the winners will complete the equivalent of a coast-to-coast run across the United States in 24 hours, making about 1 pit stop each hour across the way. Now, we've got a lot of great stories developing through 5 hours of practice and qualifying, so let's get right to it with the first of our 4 classes, the big Le Mans Prototype 1 machines. And for that, we turn to the regular voices of the American Le Mans Series here on Speed, Greg Kramer and Dorsey Schrader. Guys?
Thanks very much, Bob, and hi, everybody. And I really think one of the big stories that's developing already ties into last year when the Pescarolos were clearly the quickest, but it was legendary Audi reliability that was the trump card for the win. But Dorsey, it is the Audis that are the new cars this time, and the Pescarolos have had a full year of additional development. In qualifying, we ended up, though, with a big surprise, or was it?
Well, the buzz around the garage area all weekend long is how fast will the Audis be allowed to go, and will it be enough? I was talking with Alan McNish just moments before qualifying when the word from the top came down, go for the pole. Now, Dindo Capello went out. He turned the fastest race lap of the weekend. He is the pole sitter.
And let's take you to some of those highlights. Wednesday's 2 sessions in the evening were very wet, but to the delight of the French crowd, it was a Pescarolo that led away. But shortly thereafter, moment of concern as the number 17 went around. It was harmless, didn't get into anything, but Sebastian Loeb showed a little bit of concern for the 2-time World Rally champion.
Alan McNish went out very early, turned the fastest time, but then later in that session, you see Tom Christensen with a look of concern because Dindo Capello went into the wall with the 7 car.
And almost at the checkered flag, near midnight at the end of the second session, Frank Montagny took one of the Pescarolos to the provisional pole. However, there was another day to go, and on Thursday, it was very warm and humid, very different. The number 16 Pescarolo went quick in the early going. Christensen, trying to get in front of that time, ran into serious traffic.
And you can see how hot it was by Tom Christensen right there. Early in that second session, Dindo Capello, he repaid those mechanics for the work. He went out and he grabbed the pole.
He did indeed, and shortly thereafter, Marco Werner turned a time that was good for second, and Henri Pescarolo watched with concern. Neither of his cars could unseat either of the Audis. It was an Audi sweep of the front row. So as we take a look at the top 5 overall and in P1 qualifying, it's Audi's 1-2, Pescarolo's 3-4. 5th is the factory Courage Mugen. But another huge story is whether Tom Christensen can continue to build on his 2 remarkable records. For more on that, here's Calvin Fish.
Has won 7 of these races now, Greg, and he's unbeaten this century. And Tom, as race time approaches, do you still get nervous? Do you have butterflies in your stomach right now?
It's adrenaline and it's Le Mans, and there's so much preparation, so much energy has gone into the cars for the whole grid. And Le Mans car, you can't beat it. The feeling is there, and we are ready to sort of release the cars and then hopefully only see them for refueling and tire changes.
The last 6 victories that you've had have been powered by Audi. Today the power is different, it's diesel. The R10 you won at Sebring over 12 hours. This morning in the warm-up, Tom, what was the problem with the car, and is this car ready to go 24 hours today?
We have had a 30-hour test with no fatal problems. This morning there was an issue with the differential, and we fixed it, and our sister car number 8 had a precaution change, and now we are ready with new parts. And in that sense, normally if you have a problem once with an Audi, you won't have it again. It's fixed.
All right, mate, good luck. Well, Tom Christensen says his lucky number is number 7. He'll start today in car number 7. He was born on the 7th day, the 7th, 1967. Is that an ominous sign? Can he make it 7 in a row? Bob?
Well, Calvin, we know racing drivers can be superstitious, but that sounds pretty good to me. Now, the last French marque to win here at Le Mans came back in 1993, the Peugeot brand. The greatest French hopes this weekend lie with Henri Pescarolo and his lineup, including French-born 2-time World Rally champion Sebastian Loeb and a cadre of very experienced, very fast French drivers, including the only active Frenchman in Formula One. Earlier, Brian Till caught up with him.
If the Audi R10 is going to win here in its debut at Le Mans, it will have to get past 2 very fast Pescarolo judge. One of them, the 17 car driven by this man, Franck Montagny. Franck, you were so fast in the pre-test, so fast here over the weekend, but a lot of people surprised to see the Audi on the front row. Did you just get balked in qualifying a little bit, or were you surprised as well?
I'm surprised because they didn't use the qualifying tires, so of course they can go a little bit quicker again. So I think we could do a 30 something without traffic, but unfortunately we had a lot of traffic during our run, and well, that's the qualifying here, you know, in Le Mans. But it's not a big problem. I think we are looking for the race more than the qualifying anyway.
Well, as a French driver, driving for a hero like Henri Pescarolo, he himself with 4 victories here, but never as a team owner. For this team, for you, for Mr. Pescarolo, what would it mean to win this race in front of your countrymen?
I'll come back on Sunday night and I will tell you.
Well, they certainly have a lot of faith in this car, and it has been very fast. In fact, Montagny said last weekend at Silverstone at the Grand Prix, today, all the blue flags, the passing flags, may have waved at me today. Next week at Le Mans, they will wave for everyone else.
There's no question. This race means everything to a native Frenchman. And speaking of Formula One drivers, joining me now is my Formula One colleague here on Speed, David Hobbs, who is also a veteran of 20 appearances here at Le Mans. David, let's not talk about what it would mean to win. Let's talk about what it takes to win here.
Well, of course, it takes a big budget, it takes a lot of development, and it takes an enormous amount of testing and practice. The car, the engine, the transmission, and of course, not least the tyres. And of course, it needs a bit of luck. As you heard, these Audis both had problems this morning in warm-up. If that problem had manifested itself just about 50 miles later, they'd have both been in trouble before the end of the first hour. It also takes a bit of luck. You've got 50 cars out here, 150 drivers. That's going to be, what, 35,000 miles between them all between now and this time tomorrow. And, of course, 34 or 37 of them have never been here at all before, so there's a very good chance of doing a tango with one of those guys somewhere down the road.
Well, we expect a big battle up front in LMP1, but we have another good two-team scrap in the top production category, and that is GT1. With that story, we welcome the Thunder from down under himself, Lee Diffie. Lee.
Hi, Bob. Hi, David. Hi, everyone. Yes, GT1 will be one of the contests to watch, and what a fascinating battle it will be. The iconic American marking Corvette up against one of the world's greatest engineering houses in ProDrive, and the head-to-head over the past 3 years sees Corvette ahead, but of course ProDrive did get that initial victory with the 550 Maranello Ferrari. Let's take a look at that, because it was a marvelous year and it was really hyped up, the battle between these two, but in the end the red Ferrari came home with Thomas Enger, Jamie Davies and Peter Cox. But then the following year they tried to do it again with the same car but a different driver lineup, and shortly near the end, failure to the Ferrari, and the Corvette reliability shone through. Come to last year and we bring a new car. ProDrive provides the Aston Martin, but there was an engine water overheating issue, and Doug Feehan's men stood tall once again. The stars and stripes flew because that Corvette reliability came on in. Now, running at Le Mans, you don't often have a trouble-free run, and we saw that with Corvette once again. But when it came time to qualify, the men in yellow didn't go in qualifying trim, but boy, they were committed. So too were the Aston Martins, and in particular, Thomas Enger. Have a look at this for commitment. Amazing performance, and the Czech driver set a new record with 5 consecutive class poles. He stood on top. In fact, the Aston boys locked out the front row, but don't get too worried about the Corvettes. They will be there. But for now, Andrew Marriott's with the man of the moment.
Yes, I'm with the man who started here 5 times and started in pole position 5 times. You've only won once, and on that day you had a problem in the morning. What happened today?
We had exactly the same problem. We had problem with the engine, and we have to change after warm-up the engine. So I'm hoping to repeat 2003. I mean, I have repeated pole position again for 5 times, which is the record here in Le Mans, and I'm really happy for it. The car is very fast. We hope the car is also reliable, but after the problem this morning, I hope we can repeat 2003 and win the race after the problem in warm-up as well.
Quick answer, can you beat those Corvettes?
We will try to beat them, obviously.
Thanks very much, and Chris Neville is with the Corvette team.
Well, ProDrive might be confident. In the past 12 months, it's been the number 64 in Corvette that has been the 800-pound gorilla in GT1. Yeah, and we always see so much speed out of the Astons, but the Corvettes always seem to win on reliability. Is that the case?
I think it's the last 2 years it for sure has been. Aston's been very fast. In the races, we've been able to match them and put a lot of pressure on them. Last year, they made some mistakes when we put pressure on them, and we won the race. I think this year we're closer to them, can maybe even put more pressure on them, and then we'll see how it works out.
You and your teammates are going for 3 in a row. With that kind of momentum, does this race get any easier?
This race is never easy. Not everything has to go your way, but you can't have a lot of stuff going against you. The last couple of years we've been quite lucky not to have the big issues. I think if we can run trouble-free this time, we'll have a very good chance of winning. I think it's not going to be one on speed at all. It's going to, if you can just run, come in here, change tires, drivers and fuel, that's the way to win it.
Last year, Corvette showed up with the new C6R. They didn't feel they were quite ready, but they still came away with the win. This year, they're saying they've never been more prepared.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. We're going to take a short break. The crowd, more than 200,000 strong, are taking their places. Down in Old Le Mans City Center, there are bronze plaques immortalizing the recent winners of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. It's a week-long festival, and it's about to come to its climax. A car weekend for every taste. We'll be back. Speed's coverage of the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans is presented by Michelin, a better way forward. By Porsche, Porsche, there is no substitute. And by Valvoline, tested on the track, trusted on the road. Welcome back live to Le Mans. A massive crowd on hand, the biggest I've seen in years, gathering for the 74th running of the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans live here on Speed. Let's move on now to the smaller of the two production-based categories, Le Mans GT2. Running in that class is the Panos brand, developed by Dr. Don Panos, who also founded the American Le Mans Series. This week, they celebrated 10 years for Panos sports cars at Le Mans. Olivier Beretta and Johnny O'Connell sharing the cake in a rather unusual way. Making things even better, icing on the cake, if you will, Don Panos was also given this year's Spirit of Le Mans award. He said the memories will be with him forever. Congratulations. Now to GT2. That was Jörg Bergmeister, pole sitter on Wednesday when it was wet, but in the dry, the Flying Lizard team ran well. There's the Canadian Multimatic Panos team. Tracy Krohn in the White Lightning Peterson car. Problems here, got it off the road, but didn't hit anything. But Luca Riccitelli, in the car that had just been put on pole by his teammate Romain Dumas, had a big wreck. Here's a look at the top 5 in class. Now, controversially, officials decided that due to force majeure, the Riccitelli team was able to take that car and substitute a new chassis. That is expressly prohibited under the rules, but officials said, well, due to force majeure, we're going to allow them to substitute a new chassis. And the fact that it's a French team, well, you can just draw your own conclusions. Let's get down to Calvin Fish in the pit lane.
Well, Bob, this GT2 category has been dominated by American-based teams for the last 4 seasons, winning 4 in a row here, and the Flying Lizard team would certainly like to extend that streak. Johannes van Overbeek is their team leader. You've had a rough week, mate. You fell off your bicycle, you've injured yourself a little bit. How are you feeling, and can this team take it to victory here today?
I feel great, Calvin, thanks. The Portal player Flying Lizard Porsche has been great. The team's working better than ever, and you know, we wouldn't be here if we didn't think we had a shot at winning.
All right, mate, well, best of luck. Another American-based team is further down pit lane, and they're with Brian Till.
Thanks, Calvin. You talk about an American-based team. It's also an American car. Gunnar Jeanette, you drive the Panos. You've driven twice here before in a Panos entry, 5 times overall. We talked about it being the 10th anniversary for Dr. Panos here. How special would it be to give him a present this weekend?
It would be amazing. I was part of the effort that got Panos its best finish here in 2003 when we finished 5th overall. And to give them their first win on the 10-year anniversary is what we're gunning for.
Now, some issues with the motor and testing. You guys find the problem? Is it fixed?
Yep, we found the problem. It was a bit of a fuel issue, a couple other small things. We've got it sorted out. The thing ran like a train all through testing this week, and hopefully she'll go 25 hours.
Well, it's an American car run by a Canadian racing outfit. Look for them to be strong all weekend long. Gunnar Jeanette, the youngest driver ever to finish here, the 24 Hour of Le Mans. Bob? All right, thank you. Now let's take a look at our final class. LMP2, the prototypes in the wet on Wednesday. That was the American Le Mans Series champions from Intersport. This is Miguel Amaral of Portugal taking the Chamberlain car, the reigning Le Mans Endurance champions, off track. But on Thursday, Le Mans veteran Andy Wallace put his car up front, qualifying the only all-British driving lineup in the field. Now, looking at these cars, 3 of the top 4 are Lola AERs, powered by 4-cylinder AER turbos. The only problem there is that particular brand of engine has yet to go an entire 24 hours. LMP2 will be fun to watch. Calvin Fish.
Well, our 1998 overall winner here was Andy Wallace, and this year Andy is running in the LMP2 category with the RML team. And Andy, it was probably back before your victory that one of these things could be won overall without running the race flat out. The LMP2 category, however, seems to be survival of the fittest. Is that your strategy today?
Well, it certainly has been in the past. The only thing is, of course, somebody's going to run flat out and make it to the end, so we've got to do the same. Obviously, we don't want to take too much out of the car early on, but we think we're good to go pretty hard.
All right, mate, well, they're starting with the race from the pole, but there's another guy further down pit lane who's had success here before, and he's with Brian.
Calvin Clint Field certainly has seen success. He's won ALMS races at Petit. He's won Sebring with his co-driver Liz Halliday. You've also won Le Mans. You've won more P2 races than anybody in the American Le Mans Series. Clint, would you trade all those victories for another win here at Le Mans?
You know, this is a special race, and just to be here, you know, is something special. So
you know, I'm glad to be here with Liz and Duncan, and hopefully we can be at the top of the end. You know, we have a good team, good car, and should be good.
The pace, what are we going to run? Are you going to lay back and be conservative, or are you going from it for the beginning?
You know, we've talked about that all week. You know, we're going to see how comfortable the car feels. I mean, if it's fast, it's fast. If it's not very comfortable, then we're going to hold back. But the race doesn't really start till tomorrow anyway, so we'll see how it feels.
It's wait and see at Intersport, Bob.
That it is. It's wait and see for everyone. But the engines have fired and the field of 50 have moved away. They're the Aston Martins following a Corvette on the racetrack. Will they do so for the next 24 hours? Just one of the stories yet to unfold. We are ready to race at Le Mans, live on Speed. Welcome back live to Le Mans. The field is on its final pace lap. When they come around, we will go loose. So let's take a look at our Aquadalta starting grid. The front row, 2 Audi V12 diesels, followed by the 2 Pescarola V10 Judds.
But there's Jean-Paul going on in the first of garages, Lammers and the Dutch team there in 14 car, and Jamie Campbell-Waltz in 9, and then the rest of the LMP1 cars down there.
In the 12th spot, you see our LMP2 class pole sitter, the defending champions in class, with an all-English driver lineup. Mid the next 5, there's the 007, one of 2 cars bearing triple car numbers for the first time ever. That's the Aston Martin on the GT1 class pole.
There you see the rest of the GT1 cars, the other Aston Martin, then of course the Magnussen Corvette, then another P2 car there, and a couple more GT1 cars.
The 29, you see the LMP2 Binny Motorsports car, one of the US-based teams from the American Le Mans Series. A little bit further back, more of the GT1 cars and the LMP2 cars mixing in.
Yeah, get a bit of a melange on those 2 or 3 rows there. Same thing here, we got GT1, GT2, and then the GT2 cars start coming in. The 76 car was on the pole, but it has been put to the back because they did those changes to it overnight, which everybody's wondering about. You see the rest of the GT2 starters there, including the American cars.
A little bit further back, 41 spot, last year's winner in GT2, the Peterson White Lightning Racing Team. The sponsorship from Krone Racing, familiar to American sports car fans. Let's take a look now at our Lexus track map.
Well, David. 8.6 miles long. It's one of the most exciting racetracks in the world to drive on. Very fast. The pole's about 145 miles an hour. After you go through the front chicane there, over the Dunlop curve, down through the S's, Tete Rouge leads onto that what was a 4-mile straight. Now you've got those 2 corners in there, L'Arche and La Frontier, down the Mulsanne, Kink to Mulsanne, a very tight right-hander. Very fast downhill run to Indianapolis and Arnage. A bit of a dip in the road between Arnage and the Porsche curves. Porsche curves are very, very exciting. Not much room.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, David. Weather could be a big factor here. You see high temperature, 84 today. The big news, rain on Sunday. Now, they've repaved some of this racetrack. We had a wet session night. All the drivers said this place is lethal when it's wet.
Well, it collects water because it is a public road, so it's got a bit of crowning to it, but on the other hand, it does pick up water.
You see headlights on all the cars. That's one of the new rules this year. You must use your headlights for the entire 24 hours. And now the moment. The safety car will come off. Audi's across the front row, gambling everything on their new tuber diesels. And then Pescarola Judd. The 74th running of the Michelin 24 hours is underway.
Up to the Dunlop curve for the first time. It's been reconfigured since last year slightly. The pit X is different, and so is the first left and right corner. Audi's comfortably in the lead, followed by the 2 Pescarolos.
One of the Audis quickly gapping the field. Alan McNish started the car, put there by his teammate Ronaldo Capello.
Talked to the Audi guys about what kind of pace they would run, and they said they have no choice. They feel if anything breaks on the car, it's going to take time to fix it. They're going to run flat out from the beginning.
These cars have been tested 18,000 miles since they ran the only other race they have run, which was the American Le Mans Series 12 Hours of Sebring, which of course they won.
Very impressive debut, because everyone knows how rough Sebring is. It had nothing at all like Le Mans, where it's nice and smooth and very fast.
On to Le Hunandier, also known as the Mulsanne Straight, broken up in 1990 by these, the first of 2 chicanes.
A little bit of a position change going there. Jan Lammers in the All Dutch Dome. also with the Judd engine, V10. They're on Dunlop tyres. All five of the cars in front of him are on Michelin, which certainly are a very strong tyre at this endurance race. You can see a wonderful day here. Absolutely perfect weather for the race today, although we hear that horrible storms coming tomorrow. But at the moment, Alan McNish has a very comfortable lead as he goes through the second chicane on the Uno Diaz straight. Going to go over the hump soon, which has been also cut down. It was a very steep hump. It's now sort of gone away, been muted somewhat. And of course, going to the Mulsanne, you see the remains of it. It's nothing like as bad as it used to be.
Of course, if you're at home and you're trying to listen to this Audi, don't adjust your set. It doesn't make any noise.
No.
That's right. It just hums.
The approach to Mulsanne, of course, was changed a few years back when they put this traffic island in that's right at the foreground in picture. And here's that long run for Mulsanne, that right-hand sweep. As you can see, there's not an awful lot of runoff area, and as we go over that little crest and veer off to the right, you have another right-hand apex coming up and a little drop in the road, which caused the aerodynamic problems in 1999, which sent Peter Dumbrick flying into the trees. Not, as you can see, not very wide, and of course, as the race progresses and you start lapping people, coming into the Indianapolis complex now.
I'm kind of surprised the Pescarollos were tucked up underneath each other going through that rise. That's where the car gets light. You don't want to be right underneath someone.
Through the slight banking at Indianapolis, a brief blast, and then on the brakes hard for a 90-degree right-hander at Arnage.
So-called, of course, just to our left is the village of Arnage with lots of nice little restaurants and huge campsite down there with thousands of spectators all camped out down there.
I mentioned earlier, this is the biggest crowd I think we've seen in Le Mans in years.
Yeah, it's an 8-mile circuit, so there's a lot of room to put people.
Yeah,
well, they're everywhere.
Yeah. Sleeves rolled up, a la Formula One.
That's on board with the 17.
As well he might. That was Frank Montagny, who is a Formula One driver.
Because it gives you a bit of cooling, but boy, oh boy, that's a big lead that Alan McNish and Frank Wheeler have got on this very first lap, coming to the end of it now, sweeping through the last remnants of the Ford chicane coming up. This was the very first thing they ever put in to start slowing down the original circuit.
Talking with the Audi camp, they don't expect a trouble-free run. They've alluded to that throughout the weekend, saying that they need to get as much of a gap as they can in case they have to repair something. Obviously, with 20,000 somehow, test miles and so forth, they know something we don't.
Lap 1 complete. McNish leading teammate Frank Vila by a half second, and then 2.5 seconds back to the first of the Pescarolo Judds in the hand of Emmanuel Collard.
Back to the mandatory runoff areas. In the old days, the S's used to curve through there, and the bank was right to the edge. You used the edge of the bank as the clipping point on the car. There's Emmanuel Pirro looking on.
Will be second in the car after Vila gets out. A lot of secrecy surrounding this Audi project. So many resources devoted to those two cars. 5.5-liter all-aluminum 90-degree V12 engine. Twin turbo, making 650 horsepower and 800 pound-feet of torque.
So if you give it up using it as a race car, you could take it out in the field and use it as a damn good tractor with that sort of horse, with that sort of torque. Whoa, going a bit wide there.
Yeah, the amazing thing about that car is you can tell already, it doesn't smoke like we think diesels in the United States make all this racket and there's smoke and leak oil and all that. This thing makes no noise. It doesn't smoke. It goes really quick.
We were out there Wednesday night at Arnage watching people come through, and if you turned your back to the racetrack walking along, you'd jump right out of your shoes when the Audi came whopping by because you couldn't hear it coming.
What you do hear is the wind going over the body, and you can hear those tires slapping on the bits of asphalt.
Yes, exactly. That's about all you do here. But of course, diesel is something that's going to be in everybody's future. The USA has at last, after years of dragging their feet, changed their sulfur content in diesels to where everybody else in the world is now, and good diesel engines can be used there and become as popular there as they are in Europe. In Europe, nearly 60% of the vehicles on the road now are diesel.
Well, every other car that Audi sells worldwide is a diesel, so that gives you a pretty good idea.
Absolutely.
There goes Emmanuel Collard, whose previous attempt at a 24-hour race distance came at the Rolex 24 at Daytona earlier this year with Wayne Taylor's SunTrust team. Unfortunately, it ended before day turned to dark with a collision with a slower car.
Well, there you see the two Pescarolos in formation, but already dropping back a couple of seconds. Jan Lammers in the dome.
Last year, all those little blocks of sponsor names were in rectangles. Now, they're in the shape of the pentagons on soccer balls, a tribute to the World Cup. Today's race beginning an hour later to stay out of the way of the worldwide broadcast of World Cup competition.
And of course the Dutch are very keen on their soccer, and Johan Cruijff, who was the goalkeeper for the Dutch team, I believe, back 20 years ago, is now the manager and owner of the team, and he's here.
Well, for all the aficionados that like the way these cars look at them. I like the way they look now. Look at them quick, because by tomorrow, they're not going to look good at all.
Can you hear it from those trackside microphones? Just. This could be a boon to street racing in the United States, where noise is often a problem. Cars hitting 130 decibels or so. I haven't seen a measurement, but I got to believe it's 90 maybe?
No, they told me 85. 85 decibels is what that. So it's very, very quiet.
That's legal just about everywhere. Now on board the number 63 Corvette. Johnny O'Connell at the controls.
Oh boy, look at that stick shift there. You're going to make a few more of those, Johnny, between now and this time tomorrow afternoon. Thousands of them. The old skin on the right paw will be getting a little bit on the old spongy side.
Just listen to this thing. We go from that V12 diesel Audi to a big 7-liter thumping Chevy Corvette V8.
That's the big thing that the Chevy's got going for it is sheer size, 7-liter. I mean, if it lost every gear in the box except top, it could probably still win the race by chugging around it, also developing huge torque like the Audi. The Audi, of course, doesn't rev much. Only revs to what, 5,500?
5,500 rev line. They've actually shipped the thing around 5.
5, yeah.
O'Connell currently shown 22nd in the overall.
Well, Henri Pescarolo, who owns these two cars, and the green on the car is exactly the same as his helmet always was when he drove in both long-distance races and in Formula One. Pretty successful Formula One driver, but he's never won this. He's won this race 4 times as a driver, but of course never won it as a owner.
Checking the GT1 battle, that's the 009, the sister Aston Martin 12-cylinder.
Now leading the class.
16th overall, with that Corvette just behind. That's the 64 car in the hands of Englishman Oliver Gavin.
That is just behind.
And this is the closest that the Corvettes have ever been on time, on speed, to the Aston Martin. But this could turn into a huge pit stop war between those two cars. Speaking of pit stops.
Unscheduled pit stop. This car, like virtually all of the others in the field, came in to top up on fuel after the first pace lap before going to the grid.
From the very beginning, the lights were flashing, the passing lights were flashing on the pace lap. They went down to the RML team and said, look, we're not flashing our lights at you, they're just stuck. Now it seems to be something more important than just flashing lights. I talked to Clint Field, he said there is a misfire in the engine. Now this team has won, they won Sebring this year and won it handily. They also won in Houston, but it did not come without problems. They've had issues on this AER power plant in the past, and it looks like it could be an electrical gremlin now. This is way too early in this race to have problems. The good thing, they've got a long time to fix them and a long time to get back in the fight.
Yeah, but this racing is so competitive now that if you get down a lap, you can never make it back. In the old days, you could be 10 to 12 laps off and pick it up again, but now you can't do that.
We should say that car right there, the 33, is being piloted by the only female in the entire race here. Liz Halliday doing a great job in the car. Unfortunately, not looking too good at the moment.
Back out to the GT1 battle on the Mulsanne straightaway. There's Darren Turner in the 007 car. Film buffs will always connect Aston Martin products to James Bond. Hence the numbers here. First time that any cars have carried triple-digit numbers, the 007 and 009.
He started on the pole, but as you can see, he's now 3rd in the class. There are the 2 class leaders right in front of him, and that Corvette is right behind the 009 car. There's the next Corvette coming along.
You mentioned this.
Johnny O'Connell, and behind him the Celine.
Yeah. The only example of the Celine, first race for that car this year.
Another American car, of course, built in America, run by Americans.
Well, Steve Celine designed it in America. I believe it's built mostly in England.
It's Terry Borscheller driving that Celine as we speak.
Semco Motorsports team, familiar to American sports car fans. One of 9 cars from the American Le Mans Series over here this weekend. Terry Borcheller sharing this weekend with Englishman Johnny Mollum and Christian Fittipaldi of open-wheeled fame making his first visit to legendary Le Mans. There's a look at the top 5. We've got a break coming up, and we'll be back with more live, part of our 20 hours of coverage on speed. Beginning at 1 o'clock Wednesday afternoon, the 7 miles or so of roads around Le Mans that are used as part of the 8.5-mile racetrack are closed to traffic and converted into a racing facility. At midnight, after practice is over, they are reopened to public use, only to be closed again the next day, and so on. But come Saturday, they are closed for good to host the greatest event in sports car racing worldwide. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Varsha with David Hobbs and Dorsey Schrader. Welcome back to the 74th Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans. Look at this beautiful facility. When I first came here, that building and grandstand complex you're seeing was basically a row of tiny garages topped by signboards. People would sit there and just dangle their legs off of them deep into the night.
When you first came here, I mean, good Lord.
Was there such a thing as asphalt when you came
None of that guardrail was there.
I'll bet.
No guardrail, no.
Oh, one of the
That's one of the Astons. That's the 69 car.
Big crash,
Oh,
too. Front
huge.
Suspension's knocked off.
Looks like it went off driver's right and came back to the left at a billiard ball
down
job.
at the karting corner. That's where the 76 car.
On the track.
Yeah.
That's not good for any of these guys.
Is that
Le
good?
Mans. Here's a replay we're going to get right here. Oh, huge impact.
Oh, that's the privately entered machine, the number 69.
Oh, dear.
That one's done.
That is exactly where the Porsche number 76 crashed in qualifying.
It's the BMS Scuderia Italia car.
Fabio Babini, driver of that car.
Sharing with Fabrizio Golian and Christian Pescatori, an all-Italian driver lineup. And you're right, Dorsey, that was a huge hit.
Yeah, it was. You're really going quite fast over there. That is where the Porsche got written off also.
Boy, that was an arsey hit, and all this terrible stuff that happens early in this race. I mean, you build yourself up for this race for a whole year. It's sort of like the safety car coming out.
Yeah, you could have figured that was going to happen. There's so much debris on the racetrack. Of course, hopefully that driver's all right as well. But, you know, with all that kind, it's going to need a cleanup and a tow truck.
So this will maybe change a few bits of strategy.
Fabio Babini in his 4th Le Mans. Let's go down to Calvin Fish.
Here with Christian Pescatori, a teammate on this machine, and what was the problem? Any radio communication?
Yeah, Fabio touched the oil in the Porsche car, and he go out.
This racetrack is so spectacular, but when you get oil on the racetrack and you're committed through curves like that from a driver's perspective, are you just along for the ride?
I don't know, but it's very strange after 6th lap. Go out, it's strange. It's incredible. I don't know.
Great disappointment down here for this team. The Aston Martin certainly expected to run strong. This team on the Pirelli tires, of course, and the factory team essentially on Michelin, so they didn't expect to really win this, but certainly a podium was on the cards, Bob.
Oh, they must be absolutely bitterly disappointed.
Safety cars gathering up the field. Let's take another look at what happened to Fabio Babini, 36-year-old from Italy. Already off track at that point. No one obvious around him, so we can't say whether it was contact, but what an impact.
Yeah, that oil on the track I find a bit of the suspect probably. I mean, everybody else seems to be getting around okay. But, of course, maybe that slow-moving car, that 35 car, had dropped some oil or something. Who knows?
Well, it's hard to say because we didn't see where it started, but he's already around backwards at a very high rate of speed over there, the Porsche curves. Like I say, oh, look at this. They're actually trying to get this thing going.
Good Lord.
Notice all the corner workers. That's another trademark of Le Mans. Lots and lots of help around the racetrack. This is quite the prestigious event for a safety worker to be invited to participate in. Looks like Babini is out of the car.
I ran into a couple of corner workers the other day from South Florida region all the way out here from the United States to work this.
Now who's going into the garage?
It's the 9 car. That is the creation.
A lot of pit stops about to happen.
That's a Reynard-based prototype running in the LMP1 category with a Judd V10 engine, and as you see, wholesale pit stops beginning. Let's watch this unfold. It's the number 5 all-Swiss lineup, a Courage LC70 Judd V10. Oh, we got one of the Corvettes coming in and lighting up the rears, trying to get slowed down.
And the Aston right in front of it. So those are just your leaders, 1 and 2 in GT1.
Alan McNish goes by the pit entrance, as does Frank Biela in the second Audi. There's Emmanuel Collard in the 16 car. 009 is in the pits, as is the 64. Calvin.
Ollie Gavin brings the number 64 machine. It looks like it's just a top up with fuel. Right behind him, his teammate is waiting for fuel as well. So these guys just topping up, no tires. Meanwhile, the Aston Martins right behind are taking tires and fuel. So strategy already playing a key part in GT1.
Brian Till.
Same deal. Tires and fuel for both Aston Martins, Thomas Ingat and Michelin here. And tires, fresh new Michelins, and a full tank of fuel. They're gone.
Now, does that mean that they're a little too hard early on in their tires, or they just want to check tire wear, Dorsey?
I think they're taking them off because they ran through that debris. They probably are guys who, you know, we got monitors down there. They saw what the cars drove through, and it's probably the right thing to do, pull them off and take a look at them, use them later if they're any good.
That's a very good point, because obviously there'd be no need to change the tyres at this stage. Of course, that has dropped them behind the Corvettes now.
There are the race-leading Audi R10s with the Courage-based Pescarolo Judd running behind. We'll take another break and return to go green once again at Le Mans. Tonight on Speed, after a pause in our 20 hours of live coverage of Le Mans, the NASCAR Busch Series rolls into Kentucky. Horsepower will be unleashed in a high-wire rack, qualifying a big, heavy, fast stock car. Busch Pole qualifying tonight, 5:30 Eastern, live on Speed. There is music to the ears of car guys and girls everywhere. 7-liter Corvette horsepower.
And of course, this behind the pace car. Well, not behind the pace car, but.
That's right. Our order's been shuffled. We are 6 laps into the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans, live here on Speed. We are under caution after a heavy crash involving a privateer Aston Martin. Well, David, you suggested we're back under green?
Yeah, we are in the green.
There it is. You're right.
Yeah, we're back under green now.
Okay.
So that really is the Corvette going that fast.
So much the better.
Yeah.
I thought he might be trying to catch up after a pit stop. Race leader Alan McNish in the Audi R10, running only its second race with its 12-cylinder diesel turbo. Here's a look at our race analysis. A maximum of 3 drivers per team, and as we have it, all the teams have 3 drivers. No driver's time in the car can exceed 14 hours or more than 4 hours in any 6-hour period, as one of the Aston Martins pulls back in. The big question is, how far can you go on fuel and tires? And that is the big strength, as you see the question marks in the P1 category, because those diesels will run and run and run.
Boy, this 007 has got to be. Didn't they just change tires and come in?
There had to be a problem with that. Nobody knows how far that Audi can go, and I'm sure we haven't been shown anything yet. This is a problem for sure.
Ugh,
not a routine.
This is Darren Turner, 32-year-old Englishman. Uh-oh.
Oh, boy, look at the oil. Holy cow, that's probably from the Aston.
Yep, on the pit ends. So they get it up and onto the jacks, Brian.
Well, the last stop was routine, but there is at least half a quart of oil out here on pit lane after it just stopped. When he came in for that stop, after that yellow flag, it was a small oil leak. This time, there's a lot of oil, not only in pit lane, but where else is it, guys? It's on the racetrack.
Well, the World Feed is showing us the Creation Motorsports car, and they have a brake problem, I can tell you that, because the guy in the front there, you see the master cylinders, he's got the tops off. Those are the brake fluid, putting some in here. So he's had brake issues.
Boy, that's pretty early to be having things like brake problems, isn't it?
This car being shared by Felipe Ortiz, Jamie Campbell-Walter, and Beppe Gabbiani.
Now they're getting ready to bleed the brakes. You saw the mechanic there put the wrench up on top of the bleeder screw. So it's awful early, like you say, David, to have all these kind of problems.
Oh, that's extraordinary.
They will fall a lap or two down. Meanwhile, there's the Corvette flying through. New camera angle there in the Porsche curves, which get you down low. You can see just how fast these cars are going through there and how well they change direction.
Got to wonder where that oil is, Bob, that the Aston dumped. We know it's coming into pit lane, which is right where the Corvette is right there. We know there's a lot of oil in that vicinity, but I don't know where else it might be.
Hopefully the drivers were alerted. Oliver Gavin in this case.
Two Corvettes now leading, the 64 car in 11th overall and the 63 car in 15th.
I think they'd have something a little more high-tech than that to get oil up off the pit lane.
Well, that's a lot of oil right there. That's not a good sign at all. You got to wonder.
Not a good sign. The Aston very strong, and that again is another just typical thing that just gets right up you. They car ran on Wednesday night and Thursday night without missing a beat. It just went round and round and round.
I'm not going to even say anything about British cars leaking oil this time.
No, don't. Or about the headlights.
Or the headlights.
King of Darkness, Prince of Darkness.
Sweeping out through Tertre Rouge onto the public roads.
That's a great place to watch if you're a fan. Go down there and see the speed these cars carry down that straightaway through that corner.
And they're building a new train station just outside that corner, making it easier than ever to come. Now, what are we having a look at here? Somebody slipping a little bit?
I think it's just a bit of art here from the World Feed Director.
Yeah, he's using the curbs nicely, liberally, tipping the car up on its side a little bit.
Oliver Galvin in his 6th Le Mans appearance, the last 4 of them with Corvette Racing, and the last 2 of them have found him on the top step of the podium in class. There's the rankings after a whole 27 minutes and 7 laps of this year's 24 hours.
And already 1 caution in the middle of all that.
And several cars making unscheduled stops or heading into the garage. Those are the leaders in the GT1. Corvette now running 1st and 2nd, and in GT2. Alan McNish sweeps through the Porsche curves. Let's go to Andrew Marriott.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'm down in the creation pit here, and Jamie Campbell-Walter came in under that caution period because he thought a problem with the rear brakes could be sorted very quickly, or as you can see, that most certainly isn't the case. So I think this car will be here a little while. Also, something interesting down at Pescarolo, the 16 car came in under that caution and topped up with fuel. The 17 did not, so they are on slightly different strategies. Now, very interestingly, this year the Pescarolos can go 1 lap more on a tank of fuel than they did last year, so they will do 13 laps. They had anticipated that they would do 29 pit stops during the race, but I think that's possibly changed. But the 2 Pescarolos now on slightly different fuel strategies.
And Andrew, talking about fuel down here with the Audi camp, of course the unknown right now with the limited running with the diesel engine is what sort of mileage will they achieve. With the old R8 and the normal fueled car, it would get the magic number of 13 when it had 90 litres. Last year it had a smaller tank, so they weren't seeing that number. This year, the magic number may be 14, maybe 15, but I think the reason they stand out under yellow is that diesel engine, the way it operates, basically doesn't use any with partial throttle there under the caution laps. So really they just wanted to stay out, get as many laps under their belt as they could. Let's go back to Brian.
Him if perhaps they'd cut an oil line on the debris from the crash that we had seen out there, and he said no, actually it was a late call to pit. They came over the curbing on the way in and took the sump off the bottom of the motor, guys.
Oh boy. That sump, by the way, for the people at home, is the oil pan that sits underneath the engine. He actually came in too hot, hit the curbing, and put a hole in the oil pan. That's not an easy fix.
Let's ride with Alan McNish. See if you can hear the engine in this turbo diesel.
Obviously the wrong soundtrack.
You hear more wind than motor.
It needs a set of Bose speakers to put an engine noise to it.
That's it. That's just amazing.
Isn't that amazing? Poof, poof, poof. It's no louder than that to the spectators either. I mean, it comes and goes so fast.
One more note on the Aston Martins before we depart. Earlier today, Aston Martin confirmed that the ProDrive team will compete in the remainder of the American Le Mans Series events in 2006. So that's good news for sports car fans back home. As you watch the Krone Racing Peterson White Lightning car.
You know, the Corvette guys and the Aston Martin guys are friendly rivals, you should say, but boy, oh boy, they really battle. Woo, getting a little air here.
Tracy Krone, who has his own sports car team in the United States, but is sponsoring the defending champions from Peterson White Lightning this weekend and making his first appearance here. Good luck to him.
Well, it's a long way to go. It's a great learning experience, but on the other hand, you know, you've just there's a lot to learn here. And with these guys coming up behind you at some god almighty speed, you've really got to be on your toes the whole time, especially when it gets dark, which, of course, luckily for everybody, as we're coming up to the longest weekend of the year, just a couple of days out, the dark here is relatively short.
Yeah, but it stays light so long. At 10:30, it's still daylight. I couldn't live here.
Right.
We're used to leaving the racetrack when the sun's going down. You go have a nice dinner, and before you know it, it's midnight.
Look, everybody using the curb a little bit through there. I think our cameraman likes that.
A couple of LMP2 machines duking it out here. Number 39 is the Chamberlain Synergy Motorsports car for Miguel Amaral, Miguel Angel de Castro, and Warren Hughes, Portugal, Spain, and Britain, respectively. 22 is the Roll Center Racing Radical SR9 Judd for Martin Short, João Barbosa, and Stuart Mosley.
Brand new race car, that one, that Radical. It's one of a kind.
Sort of radical, really, isn't it?
It is very radical.
Yes.
Pretty neat car, though.
Sweeping through Indianapolis on just to the driver's left here. You can see just behind the fence there's a big embankment. Thousands of fans gathered there, and behind them a tent city. Unbelievable to see. Something you'd expect maybe Atlanta or Charlotte or Talladega on a NASCAR weekend. Let's take a look at some of the class leaders as we head for break another time. Long way to go at Le Mans, and a long way to go in our live speed coverage. It's Audis out front over the Pescarolos in P1. Corvette controlling GT1. And Jörg Bergmeister, Nick Janssen, and Tracy Krone to the lead in GT2. Stay with us. Welcome back live to Le Mans. Tonight, speed continues with our 20 hours of live coverage of the great race. The sun will go down, and so sadly will some teams. But the night is when this place really comes alive. So join us, the 24 hours of Le Mans, tonight at 8 Eastern, live on Speed.
Riding with Johnny O'Connell, who was having one whale of a race against Pedro Lamy, and you'll see right there, here comes the Aston Martin. They ran side by side for half a lap just a moment ago.
Now watch how the Aston draws up. Well, I was going to say drawing up. Now he's falling back in the corner. This is through the Porsche curves.
This is coming up to the corner where the 69 car went off, right about there. Boom, off to the left of our picture and bounced back and finished up on the right. It's a pretty fast corner, that left-hander there. It's very, very tricky. Slightly downhill, and the camber falls away a bit. It's a difficult corner, that one.
This is for second in the GT1 class and 15th overall.
Aston Martin a little bit better through that area. We've watched 2 laps now. These guys drove side by side for half the distance of the racetrack.
Absolutely, all the way down the main straight. They were side by side, so a bit too evenly matched for these two guys. I'm sure they wish they were a little bit less evenly matched.
Climbing the hill, and it's a fairly steep hill to the world-famous Dunlop Bridge. And then flashing down the other side of those grandstands, full of people.
Tons of runoff area. The crowd way back there on the left, big crowd up to the fence.
A lot of British fans rooting that car on, and watch now. Aston Martin, this is coming on the fast end of the racetrack, and that's where they went side by side last time around.
Through Tertre Rouge. In fact, this race is often called a British race that just happens to be held in France. Tens of thousands of British fans come over here to watch.
They were never in their cups more so than in 1988 when Jaguar won this race with a stellar international driver lineup. Here comes the
just catching up. He goes down the inside as he comes to that first chicane. I think it's going to be. Is he going to be?
No, I don't know.
Yes,
Pedro Lamy with Formula One experience many years ago with the Lotus team. Still looks young. We've got a slower, looks like one of the Panos GT2 cars ahead. Meanwhile, Calvin Fish can add.
You see the Corvettes really running well here this weekend, and last year they really seemed to be struggling for speed when they first turned laps on the racetrack. One of the problems was the tires. They actually had to import the tires from the batches of tires they were using in the US over for race week. This year, what they've done, they've actually used their Le Mans spec tires in the last round of the American Le Mans Series, winning at Mid-Ohio. The team felt very confident coming in. As soon as they went out on the racetrack, immediately the pace was right there. Let's go down to Andrew.
Car, the 17 car, came into the pits early. It was a scheduled stop. I think they probably short-fueled it for the first stint, so that's the situation with that car. And also, I believe Jan Lammers has been given a stop-go penalty, speeding in the pit lane. So another John engine car in a problem there, but no problems with the 17. It was just a short first run.
Well, we also saw the number 5 car, excuse me, the 13 car, driven by Frenchman Jean-Marc Gugnon, along with Japanese drivers Haruki Kurosawa and Shinji Nakano. Yes, the Shinji Nakano with Formula One and Champ Car experience, making his second appearance at Le Mans. There you see the 13 rolling back out with Gugnon at the controls. Late enough in the session, that was probably a scheduled stop. And this battle for second in GT1 continues.
That sure was an early stop for that Pescarolo, wasn't it? I mean, super early. Here we are talking about the Audis may go to 14 or 15 laps, and they stopped on lap 10.
They may go further than that. I don't think we're going to find that out yet.
Exactly. Just because the Audis stop doesn't mean they need to. And there are the two Audis, Alan McNish on the right, and the red accents on the RT10 of Frank Biela.
And this is where things can go wrong in the traffic.
Particularly when
37 of these drivers have never been here before.
Right, that's a good point. 37 first-time drivers at this circuit. The problem is when you're right behind your teammate or you're running together, if something happens, you can get both cars involved in it.
See the tight confines of our eyes. In the old days.
Oh,
Biela for the lead right there.
Going underneath his teammate. Lead change.
In the old days, where that guardrail is now was everybody's garden fence, and they'd come down and they'd be doing a bit of gardening, they'd cut the lawn and they'd stand at the end of the garden and watch you go by for half an hour, and they'd go back and have a cup of tea at their up in the house. And
I don't think I'd be working in my garden.
That's an interesting tale of two race cars between the two Audi cars. The number 8 has just gone like a top all weekend in the hands of Frank Biela. Oh, boy, puts his right side wheels off there. The 7, on the other hand, has been off track in the rain on Wednesday night. This morning in the warm-up, Alan McNish limped around with smoke coming out the back. They had to do a lot of mechanical changes, and that's the car that 7-time Le Mans champion Tom Christensen will be making his bid for his overall 8th and 7th in a row. So now, as the 8 car goes by the 7, you have to wonder, is that 7 RT10 completely healthy? Capella was in the car when he backed it into the tire walls on Wednesday night. He came back with his head down and said, I hope I can do something good for the team on Thursday. Boy, did he ever. Taking pole for the 3rd time in the Italian's career. Let's go down to Calvin Fish.
One of the big questions for the Audi team this weekend is if they will be able to go beyond a double stint on their tires. Now, of course, the longer they can run the tires, the less time is wasted in the pit lane. With the R8, it was very easy to run a triple stint and occasionally even a quadruple stint during the night, but this R10 package is really hammering the rear tires. So that then becomes a second issue. They only want to do a driver change when tires are being changed. So if they can only do double stints on the tires, they may have to go back to a double stint with the drivers, where they'd normally like to use a triple stint on the driver change.
Now Nish pulls up behind Biela. 12 laps in for these cars. The question is, how far will they go before they pit?
Well, they should be pitting in a lap or two at the most, I would think, based on what we've been seeing.
With an 8.5-mile lap, a driver simply cannot afford to miss the signal to pit. We've seen it so many times in the past where cars will just grind to a halt. You cannot get an extra lap out if your numbers are not absolutely precise. Here's the all-Danish team in a British car, the Zytek 06X. The hands of John Nielsen, the veteran, Kasper Elgaard, and Philip Andersen, all of Denmark.
Now you're going to start seeing some pit stops.
Well, this is a creation. Back in, we saw them with that brake trouble, which Jamie Campbell-Walter thought they were going to fix pretty quickly. It was in the pits for some time.
Looks like it's going to go back
now
again.
And again.